Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome to the TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs. We're outside the Rollo Insurance Studio right now. David's gone. He's hunting. Ronnie filled in today on the show. So, fun show. We played with helmets back here. We had OB, we had Billy, we had SEC Mike. He had a good convo about our SEC or is the SEC championship game even important? Does it matter? Find out on the Rewind.
Florida at Texas. It will be at 11 a.m. on ABC.
Florida right now.
They got to be double digit.
It's 21.5.
21.
DJ Lagway practiced some this week.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
You think Texas covers the 21.5?
Yeah, probably.
Well, let's do this.
Because I saw that freshman transfer from Yale play against Georgia, and he just looked not very good to me.
I was listening to Josh Pate talk about this one last night on my drive home from Temple, and he was talking about how, like, this is going to go how Texas wants it to go. If they come in and sleepwalk, because Florida, and we got to talk about Florida too. The vote of confidence, Billy Napier is going to return. You just wonder what that's going to do for them in the short term. We obviously know he's going to be there for another year, but in the short term, does it give the locker room a little bit more juice? Here's the thing about Billy Napier, and this is from me talking to some people that are pretty dialed in the Florida program. Mm-hmm. The kids and the players really like him. And it seems like the parents of the players really like him. And so they were fired up that they made this announcement. I think it was because I asked my guys why. Like, why would Florida do this right now? Why would Scott Strickland make that announcement public? And they said it has more to do that they don't have a president right now for him to run anything by. So he has kind of executive making decisions and decided that the best interest right now for the program, and it gives them more stability on their roster, it gives them more stability in recruiting, was to come out and say, no matter what happens, we're keeping Billy Napier. So you wonder if that just gives them a little bit more juice. I would actually think they're going to cover the number. What has Texas done recently to give you any kind of confidence that they're going to cover 21.5?
I mean, they can score, and I just don't think Florida's going to be able to score.
The problem is with no Lagway, and especially even if Lagway plays and he's not healthy,
right?
Texas is number 3 in the country in run defense.
Yeah, now some of that, you go back and see who they're playing, and you think, are they really that good? But, I mean, they're playing a Florida team that's down to a third-string quarterback.
What are your thoughts on a Texas A&M team, say, playing Georgia or Tennessee, whoever comes out of that with, let's say, one of them has one loss, a close loss to one of those two teams in the SEC title game? How do you see that playing out for A&M when you start breaking down the playoff? And what are your thoughts on you got that stance? What are your thoughts on the stance of a 10-3 A&M that loses to, say, like a number 2 Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty wild, Billy, and I think A&M can certainly still get there. Mm-hmm. And again, just because they've lost one game, I don't think that should. Well, technically 2, but 1 in the conference should eliminate them from anything. I mean, all these teams, I don't even think there's a clear number 1, and I think that has been proven with. I have Georgia number 1. I still have A&M. I think I dropped them number 3 after that one, but I got Texas too. I think. I mean, I'm splitting hairs here.
Yeah,
Georgia killed Texas. Kentucky nearly knocked off Georgia. I mean, this is just a wild, wild season, and results like last week are going to happen. So if A&M were to finish the deal and beat Texas, then, they're going to make the SEC championship. But I think they could beat whoever they're facing. So I don't even know why you're looking ahead to say, well, what if they lose? Yeah, they could win all of them. But to your point, that I think that is going to be the sketchiest thing, Billy, is what happens to potentially a 2-loss team, and A&M would fit that bill because one of the losses was out of conference. Mm-hmm. A 2-loss team in an SEC championship, if you're ranked 8th or lower in that conference championship game and you lose, there's a really good shot that the playoff committee is going to drop you out of the 12.
But could you imagine Greg Sankey would be on a pillar?
They might have to cancel the championship game.
Like what? So if A&M's going to be docked for playing in the championship game, and maybe Tennessee or Ole Miss or whoever is not, then why would A&M? What's the point of going to Atlanta when you watched Xavier Tiller on tape for the first time, what were some of the things that really stood out for you, and what's A&M getting here?
An exceptional athlete at the tight end position for number one. I mean, this is a guy who's a natural pass catcher. He is quick to locate and adjust to the ball. He runs routes like a receiver, and is just a giant target at 6'4", 220 pounds for any quarterback out there. There's a reason why he's been highly regarded and sought by top programs across the country. He is just he's a dynamic player at the tight end position. He knows he's a tight end, and the other thing that's a little less heralded is he's a willing blocker. He may not always get the guy, but man, he gets out there, and he when he does, it can be pretty brutal. He's out there working at it and getting better, and when you combine those things, that's a dirty weapon.
Yeah, I say oftentimes when you scout a high school tight end, it's not so much you don't say, okay, is he good at blocking? You say, is there intent for him to block? Does he want to block?
Yeah.
And you watch Xavier's tape, and he wants to block. And you talk about 6'4", 220, but I think you got to factor in his wingspan. He's got incredibly long arms. And so when you look at that frame, 6'4", 220 now, what's he going to look like in 18, 24, 36 months when it's his time to shine, on a college campus? It could be 6'4", 245, 250, no problem, maybe even 6'5". Guys that are typically that long-limbed, they're not done growing just yet. So another fantastic get for Texas A&M in the class of 2026, Jason. They've got 8 commitments, only 2 from the state of Texas. Again, I've said all along throughout the football season that 2025 was not going to be Mike Elko's proof of concept as head coach in terms of
I have
Southeast Texas accents in that name
a
of that.
problem. Yeah, that
name
didn't
that
fit.
monkey.
Those two didn't mesh. I got because Lagway's. I just can't imagine Lagway being effective. The way he went out of that game, I just can't imagine him coming in with him being a dual threat, being very effective. This third string guy from Yale, you may as well roll out a potato out on the field and have him play quarterback. So I think Florida's going to have a really hard time scoring points. I think Texas eventually pulls away. I'm actually
big number.
I know, and I think I'm going to pick Texas because this fits their MO. Like, they're going to start once again believing they're the best team in college football, bar none. Georgia silenced them and did a favor to the whole country for a couple weeks. It's going to start this buildup now when they play the third string Florida quarterback. They're going to end up lucking into playing like not Taylon Green and another guy that can't complete a forward pass. So the buildup is going to start. Brock Vandergriff, who is one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC, the buildup will begin this weekend. They'll start comparing scores, and they don't give a damn about, how disingenuous it is. And they'll be like, look, we beat them by this much, and Georgia and A&M and all these ranked teams only beat them by. And so get ready for that.
I got Gators covering.
You do? I know.
I like how they played against Georgia, and what has Texas done in the last couple of weeks to convince me that they're ready to go up and down the field. Quinn Ewers, his pressure to sack rate is like the worst in the country.
I know.
So if you are able to break through the line of scrimmage, he goes down.
It'll be interesting to see how Florida.
Texas wins. I think Florida covers.
It'll be interesting to see how Florida plays it. When you're playing Texas now, it's really interesting. One of the more interesting things this season has been how much zone coverage Georgia threw in that game against the Longhorns. Georgia doesn't do that. Kirby Smart doesn't do that. They did that. Texas was completely ineffectual on offense, and Ewers was shook. So how is Florida going to play it? How are they going to approach it? Also, if you dare those receivers to beat you in man-to-man, it'll be bombs away, and Ewers will look like Bama Ewers last year.
All right, y'all, like, comment, subscribe. Highly recommend getting little helmets and doing that. See you next time.